Stop scrolling for exactly the next 10 seconds, because what you are about to hear was not meant for everyone who passes this video. It was meant for you, the one whose energy field pulled you here at this precise moment, on this precise day, for reasons your logical mind has not caught up to yet. Somewhere inside you, a shift has already begun, quietly, invisibly, and this is the message that confirms it. You are not here by accident. You are here because your best chapter has already started writing itself, and it is time you finally saw it. If these words are landing in your body right now, if something in you just softened or sat up a little straighter, let this channel know. Hit subscribe so this frequency finds you again the moment you need it most. Tap like so this message reaches the next person whose field is searching for exactly this, and drop a comment below. Just one word is enough. Ready, yes, or your own city or country, so this space becomes a living map of everyone stepping into their best chapter together, right here, right now. Something in your energy field navigated you here before you even pressed play, and I need you to sit with that for a moment before we go any further, because nothing about this moment is random, nothing about this convergence of you, this screen, this voice, and this exact second in your life is an accident. It is the result of a much older intelligence than your thinking mind, an intelligence that lives in your electromagnetic field, in the subtle current that surrounds your body and radiates outward into the quantum field every single second, whether you are aware of it or not. And that field has been quietly working on your behalf long before your conscious mind caught up to what was happening. You have felt it, haven't you? That restlessness that has been living underneath your skin for weeks or months now. That sense that something is shifting even though nothing on the surface has visibly changed yet. That quiet, persistent knowing that the life you have been living is not the final version of your story. That feeling was not anxiety, though it may have worn anxiety's clothing sometimes. That feeling was your field expanding faster than your circumstances could keep up with, and when the inner expansion outpaces the outer reality, there is a gap, and in that gap, restlessness lives, discomfort lives, a sense of being suspended between two versions of yourself lives. You have been in that gap. You may still be standing in the middle of it right now. But I am telling you, with complete certainty, that the gap is closing, and the reason it is closing is the same reason you are here listening to these words, instead of scrolling past them. Your aura, your electromagnetic signature, the frequency you broadcast into the world without ever opening your mouth, has been quietly recalibrating itself, and it has now reached a coherence, a clarity, a resonance, that is strong enough to pull you toward exactly what you need. This is not metaphor. This is how the quantum field operates. Every particle of matter observed at the subatomic level exists as a field of probability until it is measured, until it is observed, until consciousness interacts with it and collapses the wave of possibility into a single observable outcome. And you, as a conscious being radiating a coherent electromagnetic field from your heart and your brain, are constantly performing that act of collapse on the reality around you. You are not a passive passenger drifting through a fixed, solid world. You are a broadcasting station, a transmitter and a receiver simultaneously, and everything that has ever entered your life, every relationship, every opportunity, every closed door and every open one, has been shaped in part by the frequency you were emitting at the time. This is not a punishment, and it is not a reason for guilt over what has already happened. It is simply physics. It is simply how energy organizes itself, and it means that as your frequency shifts, as your inner field becomes clearer and more coherent, the outer reality that responds to that field must also shift to match it. This is why you are here. This is why, out of every video, every distraction, every possible way you could have spent these next minutes, something pulled you toward this one, toward these words, toward this exact frequency of information, because your field recognized a match before your logical mind understood why. Now let's talk honestly about what you have been through to get here, because I know it has not been easy. And I am not going to pretend that the season you are walking out of was simple or painless. You have lost things. Maybe you lost a relationship that once felt like it defined you. Maybe you lost a version of a friendship that you thought was permanent. Maybe you lost a job, a location, a sense of certainty about what your life was supposed to look like by now. Maybe what you lost was quieter than that, harder to name, a slow erosion of interest in things that used to light you up, a sense of disconnection from people who used to feel like home, a fatigue that no amount of sleep seemed to touch. Whatever your particular version of loss has looked like, I want you to understand something important. None of it was actually loss in the way your mind has been interpreting it. It was clearing. There is a difference between something being taken from you and something being cleared out of your field to make room for a frequency your old life could not hold. Think of it this way. If you tried to tune an old analog radio to a new station, while the dial was still locked onto static and interference from the previous frequency, you would hear nothing but noise, a garbled mixture of two signals fighting for the same space. The universe, in its own intelligent way, does not allow you to broadcast two incompatible frequencies indefinitely. At some point, the old signal has to fade so the new one can come through clearly, and that fading from the inside can feel exactly like loss, exactly like grief, exactly like something is being stripped away from you against your will. But from the vantage point of the field itself, from the vantage point of the quantum intelligence that organizes matter and energy according to resonance, what was actually happening is that your electromagnetic broadcast was being prepared, cleaned, cleared of interference, so that it could finally carry the frequency of the chapter you are about to enter. Every ending you have lived through was quantum field preparation. Every person who walked away from you was not a rejection of your worth, but a resonance mismatch resolving itself so that your field could stop splitting its energy between what was leaving and what was arriving. Every dream that quietly died was not proof that you were unworthy of it, but evidence that a bigger, more resonant possibility was waiting on the other side of that particular disappointment, one that could not enter your life until the smaller version had been released. I want you to feel the truth of that in your body right now, not just understand it intellectually. Your light has been on this entire time, even in the darkest weeks, even in the nights where you lay awake wondering if anything would ever change, even in the moments where you felt invisible, unseen, and unheard. Your field never stopped radiating. It could not stop, because it is not something you do, it is something you are. Consciousness itself is luminous by nature, and your electromagnetic signature has been broadcasting your worth, your readiness, your evolution out into the quantum field this entire time, whether you believed it or not. The only thing that has changed, the only thing that is changing right now as you listen to this, is your awareness of that light. And awareness is not a small thing. Awareness is the very mechanism by which the quantum field collapses possibility into reality. The moment you become aware of your own light, truly aware, not as a nice idea but as a felt, embodied truth, the field responds instantly, because observation is not passive, observation is participation, observation is creation. So take a breath here with me. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. You have been carrying tension in your body for longer than you realize, tension that was never yours to carry in the first place, tension that belonged to a chapter that is already closing behind you even as we speak. This is the beginning, not the beginning of something you have to force or manufacture through effort and striving, but the beginning of something that recognizes you, that has been waiting for your frequency to rise to meet it, that has been assembling itself in the quantum field this entire time, patiently, intelligently, lovingly, until the moment your light was ready to be seen. That moment is now. Now that you understand your light has never actually gone dark, I want to walk you deeper into what happens next, because awareness alone, while powerful, is only the first step, And what comes after awareness is where the real transformation of your outer reality begins to unfold. Here is something most people never fully grasp about how consciousness interacts with the physical world. Reality does not deliver to you based on what you want, it delivers to you based on what you are resonating at. And those two things, wanting and resonating, are very often not the same thing at all. You can want a new relationship with every fiber of your conscious mind and still be broadcasting a frequency of scarcity, of unworthiness, of quiet fear that you will be abandoned again, and reality, which is exquisitely sensitive to frequency and largely indifferent to your verbal wishes, will continue delivering circumstances that match the resonance rather than the request. This is not a cruel design. It is simply the mechanics of a universe built on resonance, the same principle that allows a tuning fork struck in one room to set an identical tuning fork vibrating in another room without anyone touching it, the same principle that allows two hearts in proximity to entrain to a shared rhythm, the same principle that allows your nervous system to physically synchronize with the nervous system of another human being when you are in a coherent emotional state together. Reality is not a vending machine that responds to the words you type into a wish list. Reality is a vast resonant field that responds to the frequency your entire being, conscious and unconscious, is transmitting in any given moment. And this is precisely why the shift you have been undergoing matters so profoundly, because a frequency shift does not just change how you feel internally, it changes what is now possible for you to receive externally. Think about the doors that seemed permanently closed to you even a year ago, the opportunities that felt impossibly out of reach, the version of your life that used to feel like a fantasy reserved for other people, luckier people, people who did not carry your particular history or your particular wounds. Those doors were not closed because the universe was withholding them from you as some kind of test or punishment. They were closed because your field, at that time, was not yet resonating at a frequency compatible with what was on the other side of them. A door does not open because you knock on it harder. A door opens because your frequency finally matches the frequency of the room behind it. This is why so many people spend years pushing, forcing, striving, exhausting themselves trying to manifest a life that keeps slipping through their fingers. And it is also why, once a genuine frequency shift occurs, things that used to require enormous effort suddenly begin arriving with what feels like unreasonable ease. You have likely already experienced small versions of this without naming it. A conversation that seemed to appear exactly when you needed it. A piece of information that landed in front of you at precisely the right moment. A stranger who said something that shifted your entire perspective in a single sentence. These were not coincidences. These were your new frequency beginning to organize matching circumstances around it. Small proofs of concept before the larger structural shifts in your life begin to show themselves. And they will show themselves because that is how resonance works. It does not stay contained to the subtle or invisible realm for long. It eventually must express itself through form, through circumstance, through people, through timing. Because energy that is coherent enough will always eventually crystallize into matter. This is where I want you to understand something crucial about the chapter you are entering, because it is not simply going to be a slightly improved version of your current life. A genuine frequency shift does not produce incremental change, it produces what can only be described as a category shift, a movement into an entirely different resonant band of experience, one where the baseline of what feels normal to you is fundamentally different than it was before. The relationships available to you at your new frequency will be different in kind, not just in degree, from the relationships available to you at your old frequency. The opportunities that begin appearing will not simply be bigger versions of what you already knew. They will often be things you could not have even conceived of asking for, because your old frequency did not contain the conceptual space to imagine them. This is why so many people who undergo genuine transformation describe their new chapter as feeling almost unrecognizable compared to their old life, not because the external world changed its rules for them specifically, but because they began resonating at a frequency that made an entirely different category of reality available for delivery. I want you to prepare yourself gently for this, because sometimes the arrival of a genuinely new chapter can feel disorienting, even though it is exactly what you have been asking for. You may find yourself in rooms, literal or metaphorical, that your old self would never have been invited into, surrounded by people whose energy feels expansive and clear in a way that your nervous system has to learn to trust rather than brace against out of old habit. You may notice moments of unexpected emotion arising, not sadness exactly, but a kind of grief for the version of you who had to survive the old frequency for so long, a tenderness toward that former self who did not yet know that better was coming. Let that emotion move through you without resistance. It is simply your system integrating the reality that safety and expansion can coexist, that you do not have to stay small to stay protected, that the very field which is now inviting good things toward you is the same field that has been quietly holding you this entire time. As this new frequency continues stabilizing within you, you will notice the timing of events beginning to feel almost uncannily precise, messages arriving exactly when you need them, resources appearing exactly when a gap opens up, people entering your life at the exact moment your growth requires their particular gift or perspective. This is not magic in the sense of something supernatural interrupting the normal rules of reality. It is simply what coherence looks like when it is finally allowed to operate without the static of fear, doubt, and old conditioning interfering with the signal. Before we move further into how to anchor this frequency so it becomes permanent rather than temporary, I want to pause here and create a moment of real connection between us, because this message is not reaching one isolated person sitting alone in a room. It is reaching a field of people scattered across every corner of this earth, all resonating with the same shift at roughly the same moment, all part of a larger wave of consciousness that is rising together even though you may feel like you are experiencing this alone. So tell me, from which part of the world are you receiving this message today? Which country, which city, which quiet corner of this planet are you sitting in right now as your frequency continues to shift? Drop a comment below and let this become a living map of everyone whose field found its way to this exact message at this exact moment. Because when you see how far this resonance truly reaches, you will understand that you were never as alone in this as it sometimes felt.